up. What's going on defensively on that side of the ball that I should know about for the Steelers?
I'm not sure which was the biggest acquisition. Anytime you get a 9-time Pro Bowler and a Super Bowl winning quarterback who probably should have won two, that's a monster acquisition. But I'm not so sure the signing Patrick Queen in free agency wasn't bigger. Certainly, it's as big in terms of what he will mean for that defense. Putting him on the inside, where that's been a revolving door, Rich, since Ryan Shazier's career-ending injury. And then they really like the Landon Roberts from last year, and then they draft Peyton Wilson in the fourth round, who to me could be the steal of the draft, and not just the Steelers draft, maybe the NFL draft. This is a 242-pound guy who runs a 4.43, and he's a guy who can cover. So if you have three guys now on the inside and it's led by Patrick Queen. To me, that really bolsters a position that has struggled since 16, to be perfectly honest. The cornerback position, they traded Deontay Johnson. They brought in Dante Jackson. That gives them a capable starter. I think where the biggest question on defense, Rich, to me, is the one area they really did little, if nothing, to improve themselves in the offseason is the defensive line. They're counting on Cam Hayward at age 35, bouncing back from an injury-plagued season. They really like Keanu Benton, their rookie from last year. They expect a big jump from him in year two. He is and really can be a disruptive player. But beyond that, they signed Dean Lowry in free agency, but that's depth. They drafted Logan Lee on the sixth round. That's depth. They really did nothing to improve the defensive line. They're just kind of they're counting on Cam Hayward bouncing back and Keanu Benton. Yeah, they have Larry Ogunjobi, but they always keep their fingers crossed with him because of nagging injuries in his career. So that, to me, I don't want to call it a question mark, but in that defense, to me, that's the biggest question mark.
I just kind of find it interesting how the Steelers stepped out of their, for the lack of a better phrase, comfort zone in the quarterback room and on offense. Obviously they, gave a contract extension to Mike Tomlin, and what I think about him and how, much blowback I get when I kind of cape for Coach Tomlin. And you just hear from Steeler fans that it's just been too long since they've, won a playoff game. They don't care about finishing above 500 and just making it as the sixth or now seventh seed if they're going to get, their brains beaten in and not even have a sense of being in the same realm as Super Bowl contenders. But I'm just wondering if the way you've just laid everything out, Gerry Dulac, with stepping out of the usual way they would approach the quarterback room and their offensive playbook, and just staying the course, Steeler way, Tomlin way, in other ways, that this team is, in your estimation, better equipped to end that playoff win drought, Gerry?
Yeah, and it's been 7 years, as you know, Rich, and that's what angers the fan base here. To your point about all the winning records, but then they go in and they get exited from the playoffs in the first round. They've lost their last 5 postseason games. But I don't think there's any question, Rich. They were a 10-7 team last year, and Mason Rudolph came in and basically saved their season those last 3 games. But I don't think there's any question with what they've done with the quarterback room, bringing in Arthur Smith, continuing to address the offensive line, the move to bring in Patrick Queen. I mean, they made big-time moves, and that includes trading for Justin Fields. I don't think there's any question they're better than 10-7, which is what they were last year, of course. So, am I going to call them a Super Bowl team? No, but I think, you could start at 11-6 with this football team, barring any significant injuries. And, I think being capable of winning a playoff game, which would at least be a step in the right direction. But we heard Art Rooney II, their team president, after the season, basically saying he's getting impatient. It's time to win playoff games, he said. And that's what precipitated all these moves.
Well, I mean, winning a playoff game 11-6 would, I would think, put you in the conversation to win the division. I mean, I don't think 11 wins this division. I think there's just too too good of a team. That whoever wins this division is going to be too damn good of a team. The Ravens wound up being the 1 seed last year. A lot of good it did them. I think it would have to be that would be their best chance, clearly, obviously, rather than being an 11-win team that winds up in the home of the division winner with the worst record, on a wild card weekend. That's just the way I'd look at it.
Yeah, and it's the strongest division in football. They showed that last year. Probably the same will occur again this year. But you look at the Steelers' record in the division: 5-1 last year, 3-3 the year before. They're 8-4 in the division the last 2 years. Mike Tomlin places so much emphasis on those division games, and that's why they've been successful in the division. So if they can be successful again in the division, I think, again, am I going to sit here and say they're going to win the division? No, but I think, 11-6, and I think with a couple breaks, good breaks, maybe 12-5, and then you're talking about possible division championship. So again, I'm not going to predict it, but as I've learned over the years, nothing surprises me.
Yeah, to win the division, they got to finish up strong. If we just to pop the schedule up real quick before we let Gerry go on with his day, their first division game is Week 11, home for Baltimore. Right. They play Baltimore weeks 11 and 16. They play Cleveland 12 and 14, wrapped around their first game against Cincinnati, who they finish up against after. I mean, look at the finish right there. From Week 11 on, it's home for Baltimore, at Cleveland, at Cincy, home for Cleveland, at Philly, at Baltimore, home for Kansas City on Christmas, and then Cincinnati. I mean, that is, you better make some hay early on. And it's not like they got some easy ones either. At Atlanta, the Chargers should be better, despite what we're hearing about the foot of Justin Herbert right now would be a concern. You got Dallas, the Jets. We assume will be better. I mean, that's a heck of a schedule, Gerry. Right there. Yeah,
and the finish, as you point up, Rich, is the big thing. And I believe, because it's been a while since I looked this up, but I believe it's the latest that they begin division play. I think since the merger, that's how far back you have to go to see them get into the second and third week in November before they play a division game. We just haven't seen that. Usually they have one right away in the first 3 or 4 games. So, yeah, it seems strange to wait that long to get into the meat of the division matchups. But that finishing stretch, and then you have Kansas City on Christmas Day, and at Philadelphia, we'll see what the Eagles are this year as opposed to what happened last year. But, yeah, that finishing stretch is going to be a big time for them, and especially, again, because of how strong that the AFC North is.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.